Welcome to our Legendary Cars series on the Shortanzi channel. Today, we're diving deep into, well, one of the most extraordinary automotive icons ever created, the Ford Mustang. This isn't just a car, it's, a global symbol of speed, style, and just this profound sense of freedom. Think about it, it's been in continuous production since 1964. That makes it the longest produced Ford car nameplate. That's truly remarkable in the car world.
It absolutely is, and you really hit on something essential there. The Mustang, it just transcends being a vehicle. It's a true phenomenon, and for this deep dive, our mission is really to unpack its unique journey. We'll explore everything from its sort of unexpected beginnings to its enduring cultural impact and, how it's managed to adapt and thrive across 7 distinct generations. For you, the listener, this isn't just a history lesson. It's kind of a shortcut to understanding why this car became and, well, remains so incredibly significant, maybe in ways that might surprise you.
Exactly. Our mission today is to unearth those surprising facts and defining moments that truly shaped this legendary car. What can its evolution tell us about automotive design, innovation, and maybe most importantly, that elusive quality of staying power in such a rapidly changing industry?
Okay, let's unpack this and jump right into the very genesis of this iconic pony car.
The Mustang's initial concept and development were nothing short of incredibly rapid, like really fast. It was championed by the legendary Lee Iacocca, with Donald N. Frey leading as head engineer. Together, they completed the T5 project in a record-setting 18 months. When you think about the complexity of designing and bringing a new car to market, especially one that would become such a game changer, that timeline, it feels almost impossible. What specific elements of Iacocca's approach or, Ford's internal processes back then allowed for that kind of speed? Was it like a lean team or maybe just a willingness to take more risks?
It's a great question, and it really speaks to Ford's unique organizational structure under Iacocca at that time. They essentially empowered a small, dedicated team, almost like a startup within a giant corporation. They cut through bureaucracy, made quick decisions. It was all about speed to market and hitting a specific unmet need. And for a bit of trivia, Gail Holderman's simple but really elegant side view design was actually the basis for the very first clay model, which really streamlined the early design process.
That's fascinating. So it was a focused, almost guerrilla-style development that really paid off then. And speaking of its name, Mustang, I've heard there are a couple of theories behind it. Which one do you think is closer to the truth, or is it genuinely just a bit of automotive lore?
Well, what's fascinating here is that there are 2 compelling origin stories for the name Mustang. One credits executive stylist John Nodjar, who was apparently a big fan of the World War II P-51 Mustang fighter plane, a symbol of speed and agility. The other theory attributes it to Robert J. Eggert, who was Ford Division's market research manager. He claimed inspiration from a book about wild American quarter horses, connecting it to that idea of a wild, free spirit. Both are compelling, right? And maybe both kind of contributed to the mystique. It's also a fun detail that the name couldn't actually be used in Germany. The car was sold there as T5s until 1978 because of a prior ownership by a company called Krupp.
Wait. So a German industrial conglomerate owned the Mustang name in Germany. That's an incredible piece of trivia. Did Ford ever try to acquire those rights, or was it simply too complex, leading them to just stick with T5 there for so long? That seems like quite an international hiccup for such a global icon.
Yeah, it's a classic case of prior trademark registration. While Ford certainly had the resources, acquiring a long-held trademark from a major player like Krupp, who used T5 for their trucks, well, that would have been complex and likely a very expensive legal battle. It was just simpler, more practical for Ford to use the T5 designation in Germany, which was an internal project code anyway, rather than get into a costly, drawn-out legal fight. And speaking of its introduction, Ford kicked things off with what's often called the 1964.5 model. Production began March 9, 1964, but the very first public sale actually happened up in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, on April 14th. Just days later, April 17, 1964, it had its massive debut at the New York World's Fair.
And the public reaction was immediate. It was just astounding. Can you imagine the buzz? 22,000 orders on the very first day, over 400,000 units sold in the first year, and then, boom, 1 million within just 2 years. It was, in fact, the most successful vehicle launch since the 1927 Model A. That's not just a successful car. That's like a cultural phenomenon unfolding in real time. What did that tell Ford and maybe the wider auto industry about what consumers were really looking for then? Was it just the price or something deeper about, aspirational access?
You've hit on the crucial point there. It wasn't just the price. Though its initial low advertised price of, US $2,368, that was certainly a huge draw. Ford achieved this by cleverly using loads of common components from other existing models like the Falcon and Fairlane. Smart move. That kept development and production costs right down, made assembly and repair easier. Brilliant, really. But the deeper insight for the industry was that Ford had sort of democratized the sports car. They proved that performance and style didn't have to be exclusive or super expensive. It was aspirational, yeah, but accessible. This became a blueprint for affordable performance across the whole industry, fundamentally altering how cars were marketed and sold to a broader audience. It inspired a whole new segment, didn't it? Leading to competitors like the Chevy Camaro, the Pontiac Firebird, the Dodge Challenger. It even influenced coupe designs worldwide, models like the Toyota Celica and Ford's own Capri in Europe.
Right, right. And its pop culture presence began almost instantly. It became an immediate celebrity. It's often assumed its movie debut was in Goldfinger, but here's a surprising fact. It actually first popped up in a French comedy, The Troops of Saint-Tropez, in September 1964. Then, that same month, came its iconic appearance, that Wimbledon white convertible driven by Bond girl Tilly Masterson in Goldfinger. That really cemented its cool status, showing up on screens big and small almost from day one. Okay, now let's talk about the Mustang's early evolution, because after that, well, explosive launch, the car started to grow, literally. We're looking at its physical growth in the late 1960s, specifically the 67 to 73 models. Lee Iacocca, funny enough, despite later complaining about the Mustang getting bigger, actually oversaw the 67 redesign. This gave the Mustang a more massive, muscular look overall, and crucially, it allowed for big block engines to be offered for the first time. Big power. The 1969 models, with their distinctive quad headlamps, really pushed an aggressive style that some felt was maybe almost too much for the original pony car idea.
That's right. And that aggressive styling, it was matched with serious performance options introduced in '69. We're talking Mach 1, the Boss 302, and the legendary Boss 429, which were absolutely crucial for racing homologation. For anyone not familiar, homologation basically means Ford had to build and sell a certain number of these street-legal monsters to qualify them for racing. So these weren't just marketing fluff, they were directly linked to the racetrack, real performance cred. But it wasn't just about raw power. They also brought out the more luxurious Grande model. It had extra sound-deadening simulated wood trim, showing they wanted to appeal to a wider, maybe more comfort-focused buyer, too.
Okay, so this brings us to a really dramatic shift in the Mustang story. The second generation, 74 to 78, often known just as the Mustang II. This wasn't just a redesign. It felt like a controversial gamble, really born out of necessity. Lee Iacocca, who by then was president of Ford, ordered a smaller, much more fuel-efficient car. It was based on the Ford Pinto subcompact and, maybe ironically, arrived just before the 1973 oil crisis hit hard. It feels like a moment where the Mustang faced its first real identity crisis, moving away from those muscle car roots.
It certainly was an identity shift, yeah. And while some enthusiasts found this period challenging, maybe even sacrilegious to the Mustang's original spirit, it was actually a huge market success, especially given the context, right? Rising fuel prices, more competition from smaller, efficient Japanese imports. It sold, 385,993 units in its first year. It competed incredibly well against popular imports like the Toyota Celica. It even won the coveted Motor Trend Car of the Year award in 1974. And, for those craving a bit more grunt, the 302 V8 did return in '75, though, yeah, with lower horsepower figures compared to earlier days. That reflected the era's new emissions rules.
Right, okay. So after the, let's say, challenges and surprising successes of the Mustang II, the brand needed to kind of reaffirm its performance roots. That's where the third generation, running from 79 to 93, really shined, I think. This generation was built on the larger, very versatile Fox platform, which was a significant step forward, much more modern underneath. We saw the return of the iconic GT badging in '82, replacing the Cobra nameplate for a bit, and featuring a high-output 302 V8. Plus, huge news for many, after a 9-year absence, the convertible body style made a very welcome comeback in 1983. Top-down cruising was back.
Absolutely. And what really stands out about this generation is the enduring popularity of that 5.0 V8 engine. It reached 225 horsepower by 1987. It was celebrated as a real performance bargain against rivals like the Camaro, often priced about $3,500 less, which was a massive difference back then. That kind of value just cemented its place in the market. And for a fun cultural reference, who could forget Vanilla Ice bragging about rolling in my 5.0?
Yeah.
That line instantly takes you back, doesn't it?
Right.
It shows how deeply the 5.0 entered the common lexicon. It wasn't just an engine code, it became a symbol of cool, accessible performance. This era also saw the emergence of those limited production, really race-focused SVT Cobra and Cobra R models in '93. They were so hot they sold out even before production started.
Okay, so fast forward. We're now into the modern iterations, starting with the fourth generation, the SN95 from 1994 to 2004. This was a major redesign after 15 years on the Fox platform. A significant refresh, built on an updated Fox 4 platform. It introduced Ford's new Edge styling theme from 99 onwards, featuring sharper contours that gave it a more aggressive contemporary look. A big change here, technically, was the move away from the traditional pushrod 302 V8 in 1996. It was replaced by the newer overhead cam modular 4.6-liter V8.
Right. And what's interesting here is how the performance sort of evolved. Even with the new engine, the 4.6-liter V8 gradually improved, reaching 260 horsepower by 99. This generation also brought some fantastic special models. You had the retro-inspired 2001 Bullitt, which was super cool, then the powerful 2003-2004 Mach 1, and some truly potent Cobra variants, pushing up to 390 horsepower with supercharging later on. Serious stuff. It also saw that brief, maybe less successful venture into the Australian market with those right-hand drive conversions. That proved to be a bit tricky logistically at the time.
Gotcha. Then came the fifth generation, the S197, running from 2005 to 2014. This one really embraced that design philosophy Ford called retro-futurism. It clearly echoed the iconic fastback Mustangs of the late 1960s, didn't it? A very deliberate nod to its heritage that, well, resonated deeply with fans. This generation introduced the powerful Coyote 5.0-liter V8 in 2011, producing a very healthy 412 horsepower, back to the 5-liter. And for serious power junkies, the Shelby GT500 made a roaring return, initially with a supercharged 5.4-liter V8 offering 500 horsepower, later getting bumped up to an incredible 662 horsepower. That was a huge step in the Mustang's modern muscle era, just massive power.
Huge power. And stepping back, a really monumental change, something enthusiasts had been asking for decades, finally arrived with the sixth generation, the S550, from 2015 to 2023. This is when independent rear suspension IRS was finally fitted as standard equipment. For decades, the Mustang stuck with a live rear axle. Great for drag racing, sure, but maybe less refined for handling and ride quality on twisty roads or bumpy surfaces. This shift was massive for modernizing its dynamics, made it a better all-around car. This generation was also explicitly designed for global sales, including the first factory right-hand drive versions. That really signaled Ford's truly international ambitions for the Mustang, although yes, it did get that 2-star crash rating from Euro and CDP initially, mainly due to lacking some newer active safety features at launch. A point Ford quickly addressed in later updates, to be fair.
Right.
Despite that initial safety score hiccup, the sixth generation brought truly significant power boosts. The 5.0-liter V8 eventually hit 460 horsepower, and the reintroduction of the 2020 Shelby GT500 was just incredible. That 5.2-liter Predator V8 boasting a production Mustang record of 760 horsepower,
yeah.
That's pushing into proper supercar territory for a factory Mustang. Unbelievable.
Absolutely wild numbers. And as we drive into the present, the seventh generation, the S650, starting in 2024, it's really an evolution of the S550, refining what came before. It features a redesigned 2.3 all-EcoBoost engine for efficiency and a revised 4th-gen Coyote V8, reaching up to 500 horsepower in the new track-focused Dark Horse series. This generation introduces new digital interior screens, big change there, including a nostalgic Fox body theme, which is a brilliant callback for longtime fans, and exciting new features like remote rev, letting you rev the engine from your key fob, which is fun, and an electronic drift brake for track day enthusiasts. Cool. And look, we can't talk about the expanding Mustang family without addressing the big, maybe controversial change, the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Wow.
It shares the Mustang name, the pony badge. But it's important to clarify, right? It's a separate all-electric crossover model, completely unrelated to the traditional pony cars platform. Still, it's very much part of Ford's strategy, it seems, to expand the Mustang's emotional appeal and reach into the electric future. It really shows the sheer power and flexibility of that Mustang brand.
Definitely shows the brand's strength.
Okay, so beyond its street presence and evolution, the Mustang has this rich, incredible racing heritage. Its very first public appearance on a racetrack was as the pace car for the 1964 Indianapolis 500. I mean, what a stage for its debut. And later that same year, it showed its early competitive spirit by winning first and second in class at the 1964 Tour de France International Rally. That proved its performance chops right out of the gate.
Yeah, its dominance across various motorsports is truly impressive. Think about 1969 modified versions of the Mach 1 and Boss models set 295 USAC certified records out of Bonneville Salt Flats, including an astonishing 24-hour run at 157 mph average speed. That just speaks volumes about its raw speed and, frankly, its durability. It's seen incredible success in drag racing, too, with legends like John Force and his iconic funny car, and countless circuit racing victories in SCCA Trans-Am Grand Am. its official entry into NASCAR's nationwide series in 2011, and then the top-tier Cup Series in 2019 further cemented its place as a genuine American racing machine. It really speaks to the platform's versatility, doesn't it?
It really does. And of course, we have to talk about its immense cultural footprint, which is arguably just as big as its automotive impact. Beyond the Bond films, think of the song Mustang Sally by Wilson Pickett in '66. I mean, that was basically free advertising for Ford, embedding the car into the soundtrack of a generation. And remember the classic TV series, The FBI, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. drove new Mustang convertibles each season. It visually showcased the car's evolution year after year to millions of viewers.
Exactly. It's those kinds of appearances that make a car a true icon, deeply ingraining it in popular culture. The Mustang's status in film is legendary, especially Steve McQueen's Highland Green 1968 GT Fastback and Bullitt. That car practically had a co-starring role in one of the greatest car chase scenes ever filmed, period.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the modified Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds, both the '74 original and the 2000 remake. Different cars, same legendary status. It's also everywhere in video games, right? Letting millions drive one. It even appeared as a secret prototype in the Need for Speed movie before its official public reveal. This pervasive presence means the Mustang is recognized and cherished even by people who aren't necessarily car enthusiasts.
It's no surprise then, really, given its impact and just being everywhere, that the Mustang has received some truly prestigious awards over the years. This includes the Tiffany Gold Medal for Excellence in American Design back in 1965, the very first automobile ever to receive that honor. How about that? It's also been featured multiple times on Car and Driver's 10 Best list and won Motor Trend Car of the Year awards across different generations. That's pretty consistent recognition of its enduring design and engineering skill.
Totally. And if we look at the broader implications of the Mustang's journey, it's really an incredible case study, isn't it? It began as an affordable, stylish car, cleverly derived from existing models, keeping costs low. It then evolved through all these various generations, demonstrating remarkable adaptability to, well, everything economic shifts, changing emissions rules, shifting consumer desires. Yet through it all, it somehow continuously pushed performance boundaries and maintained its core identity, that soul. It's truly a testament to adaptability, strategic design, and just enduring brand power.
So what does this all mean for us, for you listening? The Mustang occupies this truly unique position in automotive history. It's a car that's been accessible to millions, yet somehow remain aspirational for so many more. It embodies that spirit of speed and freedom across continents, across decades, constantly reinventing itself while staying true to its essence. It's really a vehicle that kind of defied the rules and then set new ones.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to ponder. Considering the Mustang's remarkable ability to reinvent itself while staying true to its core, what lessons can we, as innovators, maybe as consumers, take from its enduring legacy as it navigates the future? Especially now, with the advent of electric vehicles and these changing ideas of what a performance car even means. Something to think about.
Yes, we have come to the end of our Shortanzi podcast today. Don't forget to subscribe to Shortanzi channel and like our video. See you in the next episode.